Welcome back. I am Sarah with Sky Messages by Sora, or Sora Sky Messages if you are looking for me on social media. Last week we looked at the Golden Girls tarot deck for our tarot deck review, and so we are going to do our Pick a Pile mini readings for this week with that same deck. While I am shuffling, I'm going to thank you for liking, subscribing, sharing, checking me out on Patreon if you want early content, bonus content, that sort of thing, and checking out the other readings in this playlist, as well as TikTok and Facebook, should you want more examples of mini readings. If you would like a personal reading, please feel free to head to my website or email me. All of that information is in the description box, and I am going to ask you now to take a deep breath, pause if you need to, pile number 1, and decide which pile is for you. This is pile number 2. And then you can go ahead, the times will be in the description box, so you can skip right to your reading. Pile number 3. Take a deep breath, and I'm going to get started with pile number 1. These two out of the way. We are starting with the Five of Swords. We have the King of Pentacles and the Three of Cups, and I am going to zoom in a little, make this closer since it is a smaller deck. The Five of Swords speaks to kind of a cut and run energy. False starts, the idea that you thought you were going to be committed to something or someone for a very long time, and then finding out that that's just not how that's going to work for you. This can be really jarring, and the best words of advice or cheer that I can give you here is to understand that if you had continued going, things wouldn't have gotten better. So as much as this is a jarring situation to have to leave or to have lost someone, whether it's a breakup or something like a job or anything that you were looking forward to committing to, as jarring as that can be, please know that it has saved you a wealth of time and energy and heartache, as continuing would have just been going through something worse and worse. We have that with the King of Pentacles. This is interesting because the King of Pentacles is all about generosity and leadership that comes from experience. So that false start that is really disappointing is something that can be turned into something much bigger. The King of Pentacles also has everything he needs. He knows he has everything he needs, and he knows that if for some reason he doesn't, he can get it. He can find it. He can create it because he has all of those experiences. So these two together speak to turning your experience, that rough start at the beginning, into something bigger and better and more appropriate for you. And then we have that with the Three of Cups, which is a card of celebration and excitement, and it is a celebration, like community, pulling your friends together. It's having fun. So this is that rough start to the week, total plot twist, turn it around, and then kind of sharing those stories, one of those wine and wine kind of deals with your friends, gathering together the people who matter to you, the people who can listen to you vent, but can also listen to the great things that happen and be really genuinely happy for you. So it's a roller coaster of the next few days or week, but it asks you to kind of look at it as where it is in the story of your life, get some entertainment out of it, and then remember that you have people who love you and support you that you can share these with, and that makes it a lot easier. Moving on, pile number 2, we have Judgment, the King of Cups, and the Five of Wands. Judgment is not about judging people. This is not about people looking at you judgmentally. It is not about you deciding to judge others. It is about taking a step back and observing patterns. And I say specifically patterns because there are a lot of cards about observing cause and effect, about looking at things, taking objective steps back, but where cards like Justice look at one action and the consequences of that, Judgment looks at patterns, and it looks at series of actions. It is so far into the Fool's Journey that we've gathered up a lot of things, and now we're really trying to put those pieces together in a way where we can learn and grow. This card very much asks, what happens when you do this? What are the things that you have commonly been doing in an effort to reach your goal, and have they gotten you closer or farther away? And to adjust as necessary. The King of Cups asks you to have a balance between head and heart. What I mean by that is he will not do anything that he does not find fulfilling. But in that same sense, he won't do anything just because it's fulfilling. He won't get himself in trouble chasing that idea of satisfaction, but he also won't just opt for the sort of safe option that is logical and reasonable but offers him no joy. He will make sure that the choices he makes in life are good for him, but also good for his spirit. That is something that works really well with Judgment, because while Judgment is an objective and not an emotional type of card, there is still a way to look at your actions and say, did this make me happier? If you do something and it takes you farther away from your goal, but it takes you closer to something that makes you happy, it may be time to adjust those goals. It might be time to look for something else. Especially if when you do take the steps that get you towards your goal, you're not feeling it. So together they ask you to be objective, but also show yourself some compassion. With that, we have the Five of Wands. And the Five of Wands is all about pushing yourself to do better. If you watch the review, you'll see that I actually highlighted this card because I think the idea of them on the bowling team is perfect. They are pushing each other. They're trying to do better than each other, but ultimately they're doing that because they want to be better than the other teams. And so there's that idea of training, that idea of doing your best and doing that for you. And I like that with these, because this is all just about reflection and making adjustments and doing what is best for you, and kind of removing everybody else from that equation. You can add them in later when you have a little bit more confidence and a little bit more direction. But it absolutely asks you to go towards the things that you love, that you are passionate about, but to do so in a way where you don't get yourself in trouble, you don't put too much risk. It'll be interesting to see how that works out. Moving on to the third and final pile. We have the Ten of Wands, the Chariot, and the Nine of Cups. The Ten of Wands is a card, being that this is a Rider-Waite deck, one of the things we really look at is burden. Being that I am not a Rider-Waite reader, I look at it more as this idea of hard work but worth it. And they are very similar, right? If it's hard work, it is a burden, but it's a burden for a reason. She is carrying those wands because that is how she is going to get to where she wants to be. The wands are fire, they are vision, and vision is different than goals. Goals can be accomplished a number of different ways as long as you get to that final point. Visions need to look and feel a certain way. I love this card. It says you're almost there. And when you get there, you will not feel that your time and energy was wasted. You will feel that those investments of your resources and whatever that you have made were worth it, and that you got back what you put in. The Chariot reminds us both that we cannot control everything and that there are things within our control. And it's interesting with the Ten of Wands, because if you've been pushing that hard and that long, and any kind of plan that you've made for it falls through, it can be so frustrating and so tempting to give up. But the Chariot reminds you that even when there are restrictions imposed, even when you've planned things and it's been shut down, you have choices in how to adjust. And maybe that is starting over somewhere else. Or maybe it's just making adjustments and seeing if there's a more creative way to get where you're going. The Chariot also reminds us that we need to, along those lines of being in control, we need to be the ones driving in our own life. We should not be passengers. That vision may be hard, but if it is what gets you out of bed in the morning, it's worth finding a new way to get to. And then I love that, because with all this hard work and all this decision making, we end with the Nine of Cups, which is a card of contentment and happiness. It's a card of confidence, which is something that we build and develop by trusting ourselves to go farther than we think we can. The cups are the water element. They are more emotions and relationships, but when we have confidence in ourselves, it is so much easier to have confidence in relationships, and it is easier to be emotionally satisfied with whatever we have. So maybe you don't have everything that you necessarily need. Maybe there are areas in your life where you're struggling, but if you have pushed yourself to manage to get to this vision, even as new restrictions and things are imposed upon you, that level of confidence, that level of contentment in that area will help carry through to the other areas of your life. That's not to say your life will suddenly be easy, just that you will be content and happy with it, because you'll be content and happy with yourself. Good luck, and thank you so much. To everyone who stayed until the end, have a wonderful weekend.